keep making videos for this series, the more I keep finding so many designers with such little resources that have made something truly special. It's still amazing that even with graphics from decades ago and a simple button layout, that you can make something that makes you feel empowered, gives you a true sense of freedom, and can even tug at a few heartstrings along the way. It's amazing how we feel for this little character in the most abstract world and can be the best kind of fun you can have for this medium. If you've never heard of this one or have never played it, then you're in for a fantastic ride. But first, I might as well get this out of the way. The name of this game is, it's pronounced, okay, where are the vowels in this word? Like, how does this work? Okay, maybe dictionary.com knows how to pronounce it. Dang it! Okay, is it pronounced God, I sound like a bad Mega Man sound effect. Wait a minute, how do other indie gamers pronounce it?
Or as I call it, WWW.
Well, that doesn't help. You know what? Terry Kavanagh, the man who designed and created the game, he called it V, so we're calling it that. Just V. So basically our hero, Captain Viridian, that's you, and his crew are flying through the cosmos when they suddenly hit interference. Chaos sends them into a frenzy, and the crew are all separated in a flash. So our blue buddy has to find all of them and fix the ship. And that's pretty much it for the story. One of the things this game does so well is keeping things simple and minimal. There isn't really much of any backstory, and we're allowed to fill in the blanks for all the characters, a lot like any classic platformer. And strangely enough, we managed to feel a lot more for these characters simply by one small facial expression. Aw, poor things. The game also has a terrific sense of humor. All the levels have a clever label on them that might be a pun on the letter V or an apology for being just so dang hard. A little bit of useless trivia here. The titles come from Bennett Foddy, who made a little indie gem called Quamp. Oh, Quamp. How I suck so much at playing you. V has its great moments with the characters too. Like after you save Red here, he wants to help you out by standing there. Thanks dude, but I think I got this. So the thing that really makes V such a different platformer is that you don't jump in the game, but instead you change gravity. The game only has 3 buttons on it, left, right, and changing sides. Now this kind of gravity has been explored in games like Mega Man 5 or Metal Storm for the NES, but here it's the only move you have. The level design is based mostly around exploration. You're given a small portion of the map with a few hotspots to investigate and find crew members. Part of the joy of playing the game is seeing everything that the world has to offer and finding those little secrets, like the big elephant in the room. Gross! I mentioned earlier how V might be a weird choice in naming, but now I think it's a reference to the many spikes this poor guy is going to run into. Yes, friends, this game will challenge your reflexes. It's certainly not as tough as something like Super Meat Boy or Battle Kid. It has a lot of checkpoints throughout the game, but you'll be redoing a lot of the same areas before you're through. I played the entire game with a keyboard, and it controls really well without ever needing a gamepad. You have to make a lot of precisely timed moves to land on platforms or sometimes narrowly dodge obstacles or enemies. It has some nice variety for your character, so you won't be doing the same thing constantly. You have to work with gravity-changing lines, top-scrolling towers, moving platforms, bouncing lines, and a whole lot more. The difficulty here is perfectly balanced. It's hard enough to challenge the seasoned vet, and with a few tries can be picked up by more casual goers. And I must admit, you look like quite the badass getting through these challenges. But if you really want to pull out your hair to unlock new modes, music, and a new area, try getting all the special trinkets in the game, like this part. This lovely part. So obviously from the first loading screen to the graphics to the quirky characters, V has a lot of inspiration from the Commodore 64. A few users have said that the game reminds them a lot of Jet Set Willy, but Kavanagh has said in interviews that he draws more inspiration from Monty on the Run, Jack the Nipper 2, and Mystery of the Nile. These games are heavy on skill while having the most bat-crazy bizarre characters for enemies, and the same applies with V. On top of being a difficult game, I'm dodging the word lies from the radio, brain ghosts, these things, and these things. Huh. Also, Kavanaugh has mentioned that he draws inspiration from Cactus Squid's work. Some of the levels do remind me a lot of Clean Asia, one of Cactus's most well-known games. It's certainly a bizarre dimension to explore, but just like the characters and gameplay, simplicity is complexity. Terry has mentioned in interviews that he worked with a low resolution of 320 by 240. It's not from any limitations of his own equipment, but more that he likes working with the graphical constraints. It's not too busy, it's not too crowded. Overall, it has a nice kinda techno-tron look to it. Futuristic and charming. And that music. Oh man, that music! It gives the game such an amazing energy and atmosphere. I hope I don't butcher this name, but Magnus Paisson, aka Souleye, also worked with chiptune limitations, where you're going to be tapping your toes for quite a while. When Terry showed off an early build of the game, Souleye made Pushing Onwards and Positive Force, which are recognized as the main themes of V. Terry then listened to the tracks over and over again while making the level design almost rhyme with the soundtrack. It was made to work with that music, and the effect is intoxicating. The music is so well known that it even garnered its own soundtrack and remix soundtrack, featuring the work of several artists from Danny B to Josh Welsh. You know what? This stuff even rivals some of the NES Mega Man soundtracks. It's that awesome! So how much fun can you get out of this game? Well, V is a pretty short affair. The first time I played it, I rescued all the crew members and got all the trinkets in about 4.5 hours. Trust me, getting those trinkets was not easy. And after getting all these trinkets, you can unlock some new play modes, like the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is pretty cool. Now originally, the game was set for $15, which was a pretty hefty price for a short game, but the price has now come down to $5 on Steam, which I think is a perfect price for it. But every once in a while there are sales on the game to make it a bit cheaper. Like last weekend, it was on sale for just $2. Yep, Mac compatible, always a plus in my book. V later went on to earn the reputation as one of 2010's best indie games. In its first month, it sold about 2,000 copies and went on to get more and more well known. The Captain, of course, is one of the unlockable extra characters in the PC version of Super Meat Boy, and the game has made several top 10 lists among the indie community. Mr. Badunkian even made a parody level of V in his terrific game Streamers. Even though the process was a pretty long one to get made, things ended pretty well for Terry and for us. V stands as one of the best examples of a game that never tried too hard to be epic and excels at what it's doing. With its great simplicity, charming graphics, likable characters, sense of humor, amazing soundtrack, all with the feeling that you're being a badass, makes it one of my all-time favorite indie games. I cannot recommend this game enough. It stands as one of the absolute best platformers in recent years. I guess you could say it's fantastic?